Ferrari will always deliver one car less than the market demand. This quote from the company's founder, Enzo Ferrari, is perhaps the best summary of this company's unique business philosophy. Owning one of the most recognizable brands in the world, Ferrari is a true powerhouse in the modern car industry. There are a lot of videos on the internet that discuss the technical details and driving emotions when it comes to Ferrari's cars. So we are not going to repeat those. Instead, in this video, we will explore the nuances of Ferrari's business model, including how exactly it makes money, how profitable it is vis-a-vis competition, what drives the profitability, and where the business model is headed in the future. Stay tuned. Ferrari was founded in 1947 and celebrated its 75th anniversary in 2022. The company's founder, Enzo Ferrari, was a driver for Alfa Romeo, but later decided to start his own racing team and later his own car company. In 1969, Ferrari sold 50% of its shares to Fiat, which subsequently raised its stake to 90 in 1988 after the passing of Enzo Ferrari. The remaining 10% of the company has been owned by Enzo's son, Piero Ferrari, who is still involved with the company as its vice chairman. Fiat later merged with Peugeot and was renamed Stellantis at the beginning of 2021. But before that, Fiat decided to spin Ferrari off into an independent company in 2016, selling a majority of its shares in an IPO on both the New York and Milan stock exchanges. As of the end of 2022, Stellantis is still the largest shareholder in Ferrari, owning around a quarter of the company's shares, followed by Piero Ferrari, who still owns around 10% of the business. Together, they share over 50% of the voting power and are therefore able to jointly direct the company's overall strategy. Ferrari started participating in Formula One championships starting from their establishment in 1950 and is considered one of the most successful teams in its history. Over the years, Ferrari has managed to win a total of 238 Grand Prix races, 16 Constructors' World titles, and 15 Drivers' World titles. Ferrari is also the only team to have participated in all editions of Formula One since its founding and has raced in more than 1,000 Formula One races altogether. In its early days, Ferrari always wanted to be first and foremost a racing company, with commercial car production being only a means for funding its racing activities. This philosophy has evolved over the years, and Ferrari is now one of the most successful luxury car brands in the world, which uses its racing heritage and know-how to create an aura of success and exclusivity when it comes to marketing its cars, an advantage that few others have at their disposal. Let's now review how the company is doing as a business. Since Ferrari listed its shares on public stock exchanges, investors and the general public have been able to look underneath the hood to understand more about its business performance. There are several noteworthy insights you can glean from studying this information. The first astonishing fact is just how profitable Ferrari is as a business. It is often cited that if you take all of the net profit that Ferrari generates in a given year and divide that by the total number of cars it shipped, you would end up with a number in the vicinity of 80,000 euros. To put this in perspective, this amount of money is higher than the purchase price of many brand new models in other companies' lineups, from Toyota to BMW. And yet, the profit margin is baked into the price of an average Ferrari sold in a typical year. This level of pricing power is simply mind-boggling when you really pause to think about it. So, how does Ferrari achieve this pricing power? If you read the company's annual report from 2021 as an example, you notice the word exclusivity comes up a lot, nearly 50 times across the report's 342 pages, to be precise. This, of course, is not an accident. Somewhere along the way in its evolution, Ferrari has figured out that if your products are among the best in the industry, but you also make them accessible to only a small number of select buyers, the amount those buyers are willing to pay can be astronomical. And this is exactly what's happened and why Ferrari worries about its brand exclusivity so much. Without it, obtaining the kind of profitability that the company is used to would be simply impossible. This is all well and good, but when you're a publicly listed company, you start running into a different kind of problem: the expectation of growth. This expectation is often what drives capitalism forward, but when you're trying to limit the supply of your products in order to preserve the exclusivity of your brand, the two objectives can come into direct conflict. This seems to be what happened to Ferrari as well, as a lot of the investor reports and presentations revolve around the topic of growth in their various chapters. The answer that the company has come up with is what it calls controlled growth. Controlled growth is an interesting strategy and one you don't often hear about when reading investor materials for other companies. Most businesses rarely try to limit the rate of their own growth, as it is often viewed to be almost antithetical to the very nature of capitalism, unless, of course, they are a luxury goods player. Ferrari's interpretation of the controlled growth strategy has been to try and increase the overall value of the business to its owners, but do so in a way that doesn't radically increase the supply of its cars on the global market. To do so, the company seems to have selected three specific tactics. The first one is to increase its annual car production quota, but do so gradually and only increase production by a conservative amount. As an example, from 2015 to 2021, the overall number of cars produced has increased from around 7.5 thousand to just over 11,000, or under 10% a year on average. This in theory would give the investors the growth they are looking for, while only incurring a minimal risk of eroding Ferrari's cherished brand exclusivity. The second tactic has been related to improving the company's product mix, shifting more of the cars Ferrari sells towards higher margin models. When it comes to its model range, Ferrari often splits its product lineup into four categories: range cars, both sports and GT series, Special Series, Icona, and limited edition hypercars and one-offs. Special Series and limited edition speak for themselves, meaning just the very names of these categories give away their product strategy. Extremely limited cars, both in terms of their total number produced and the time period when you can try to order them, which makes them that much more exclusive and therefore expensive. Icona is another interesting product type, which was only launched in the fall of 2018 and is based on the concept of taking inspiration from Ferrari's iconic historical models and reinterpreting them in a modern way. These are also strictly limited edition cars, and to date, the company has only produced three models: Ferrari Monza SP1 and SP2, which are modeled after the classic collectible Barchetta cars, the 750 and the 860 Monzas, and Ferrari Daytona SP3, a Targa body inspired by the sports prototypes of the 1960s, featuring the most powerful naturally aspirated road engine the company has ever built. But exclusivity is still the word of the day even when it comes to Ferrari's more standardized range model lineup. There are two sub-product lines here: the more performance-focused and aerodynamic sports range, and the more driver and onboard comfort-focused GT range models. The sports range includes 6 models, including the SF90 Stradale and the SF90 Spider, the F8 Tribute and the F8 Spider, the 912 GTS and the 296 GTB. Interestingly, the two SF90s are Ferrari's first series production cars to use hybrid electric technology with their V8 internal combustion engines supplemented with 3 electric motors each. Ferrari's more subdued but much more elegant GT range includes 2 models, Ferrari Roma and Ferrari Portofino. The way Ferrari makes use of its highly successful exclusivity tactic when it comes to range cars is through customization. The company has several types of personalization programs that customers can choose from, allowing them to select things like carbon fiber wheels, titanium exhaust systems, alternative brake caliper colors, dual mode suspension, various door panel configurations, steering wheel inserts, and custom high-fidelity sound systems. Naturally, customization and exclusivity are synonyms when it comes to this kind of product strategy. And so, the more personalized and exclusive a car that a customer buys from Ferrari, the higher the price. Speaking of the model range, we can't not mention Ferrari's most controversial model yet, the new SUV called Purosangue, or purebred in Italian. The controversy mainly stems from the fact that Ferrari previously said it would never produce an SUV, because it represents such a major departure from the company's roots and brand image as a legendary racing house and sports car manufacturer. And yet, Ferrari itself admits that SUVs represented the highest growth subsegment of the luxury car market, and therefore had to make concessions in order not to fall behind its competition when it comes to making economic use of this trend. Ferrari has been accepting pre-orders for the Purosangue starting in 2022 and will commence production of the car from 2023 onwards. The third and final tactic that Ferrari has used to increase the value of its business is making money on things other than cars. To this end, the company has licensed its brand in a number of ways, including launching its own fashion collections, operating a Ferrari museum, and even a restaurant in its hometown of Maranello, and launching a Ferrari theme park in Abu Dhabi in 2010. All of these activities have the potential to bring Ferrari more money without having to produce even more cars, which the company thought was a good trade-off to keep its investors happy, even if people question why a car company of Ferrari's stature would play in these adjacencies. In conclusion, Ferrari is an exceptionally successful automaker, which has been able to stay largely true to its traditions and heritage, even in the face of being a publicly traded company, with all the growth and profitability expectations that this status typically brings. Going forward, Ferrari will likely focus even more on customization and limited edition models, given that its latest 5-year plan doesn't seem to expect much growth to come from further increasing its production volumes. The last 5 years have been a period when Ferrari produced the largest variety of car models, all in the spirit of its new slogan, Different Ferrari for different Ferraristi. This was another clever tactic to avoid the perception of overproduction, even while the total number of cars produced has increased over this period. The company is also focusing on transitioning more of its model lineup to both hybrid and fully electric technologies, as it is a clear trend with both Ferrari's consumers and competitors over the next couple of decades. And it also needs to restore its track record when it comes to Formula One, as the competition has come to be dominated by others over the last several years. But whatever comes next, it looks like Ferrari is as well poised as ever to finish strong in the race, to being one of the most successful and iconic car companies of both the 20th and 21st centuries, one that Enzo Ferrari would be proud of founding.